medicine approaches a patient, you know, and so if we could just go through that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, one of the challenges that patients typically have when they go to the doctor is they usually go because they have a complaint about, you know, X, Y, or Z. And because, as I said earlier, conventional medicine is really a cookbook method. You know, once you have, and if you can't get a diagnosis, then unfortunately you can't get a treatment, because the conventional model, if you can't open a Merck manual or one of the textbooks that says this is how you treat disease X, you say, well, you either don't have the disease or we don't know how to treat it. So, you know, the biggest aspect of how our approach into what Dr. Jeff just said is that we use the analogy of a rain barrel. Everything that you ever experienced in your life is accumulating within your body. And ideally, this rain barrel has a spigot at the bottom that you can open and close. But what we find is that typically women over 40 and men over 50 start to show up with the doctor. We say, well, how come it's women over 40 and men over 50? Like, what has happened between birth and 40 or 50? Typically, the most common physician between 0 and 40 is the pharmacist. If you have a headache, you go to the pharmacist and he says, oh, go down aisle 3 and take, you know, product X. Oh, I have heartburn. Oh, go down aisle 4 and take that. But then it gets to a point that that medicine doesn't work anymore over the counter. So, well, now you need to go to the doctor. So you go to the doctor and, well, we'll give you a stronger medicine for what's going on. And all the time what's happening is your body is continuing to fill up with toxicity, whatever that means, whether it's environmental, whether it's emotional, whether it's heavy metals, whether it's mold toxicity, whether it's food allergies, whether it's chronic stress within your system. And as the barrel gets closer and closer to being full, any additional drop in the barrel starts to spill over. So the conventional model says, well, let's try and cover that up. But you can't cover it up, because what you truly have to do is drain the bucket. You have to open the spigot, let those things come out. So, as Frank said earlier, the goal ultimately is, how do we look at the types of systems that are out of balance? And typically, I would say, anybody with any type of so-called chronic illness will have a minimum of 5 organ systems out of balance, which is why I'm not a huge believer in specialist medicine, because they only look at one system, their system. So if you go to a cardiologist because you have high blood pressure or an arrhythmia or that, they'll look at a medication, but the reality is the problem may actually not be in the cardiovascular system. It may actually be a kidney problem that nobody looks at, or it may be in your nervous system, or maybe in your lymphatic system, or maybe in your digestive system, or more likely it's in all those systems.